Violence always comes.
That's what I just said. Thank you.
Pipe down. Even to the most well put together of nations. But it's inevitable that from time to time, special interest groups will become so passionate over some issue, they'll all unite, and they will go against the rights of the rest of the citizens, or even go against the good of the nation. And violence is the enemy of popular government.
You know, I think I've heard you say that on this very program, which I've watched often.
Why is he still... I don't know why he's still talking. Our founders knew that the aim of these factions would be able to create an outcry from the people, to have the government stop the violence. However, you going to arrest them? Are you going to remove their liberties altogether?
Surely not.
All right. Are you going to use social justice so people have equal assets, ideas, and opportunities?
Good heavens, I hope not.
Actually, these guys in the wigs actually did address social justice, right?
Exactly. Yes,
right.
We did. Yeah.
Right. But not the way you think.
Trouble that.
Pardon me?
Trouble that.
What does trouble that mean?
That is trouble. Trouble.
See, you can't understand what they're saying because they're wearing white wigs and smoking pipes. The idea that social justice was addressed by these guys is pretty amazing. Believe me, I know that sent a frenzy over at Media Matters. So what do? Do we see anybody uniting over a common passion? Well, we just saw that, a huge dose of it in Wisconsin, labor protest. We see it with SEIU organizing against the banks. The banks that received bailouts because we didn't listen to our founders. And now people think the banks are greedy and they're not paying their fair share. Yes. Some are, some are not. But violence, it's coming to America if we don't pay attention. So far we've been mostly fortunate here, but Europe is ahead of us on this, using violence to promote a common passion. Today's riots in Greece show exactly what could be coming our way. Don't go anywhere, because
I shan't.
Don't go anywhere because I'll show you exactly how this guy, not this guy, solved the problem. Next. Tonight, I want to look a little bit at one of the solutions, and the solution is to educate ourselves. We've been talking about the Federalist Papers. The Federalist Papers is a book that hardly anybody even reads anymore, and it should be. It is the original argument. It is the argument that the founders made to convince the American people that they should have a constitution. With all of the things that are going on, and you read the Federalist Papers, if you read at number 10, something that was written 224 years ago, it could have been written this morning. Now, how did that happen? Did James Madison just get lucky on that one? Look at Federalist Paper number 10. I'll translate. Here's James Madison's words.
Theoretic politicians who have patronized this species of government have erroneously supposed that by reducing mankind to a perfect equality in their political rights, they would, at the same time, be perfectly equalized and assimilated in their possessions, their opinions, and their passions.
Right. I would have to read that like 4 times, and it goes on. He's just like this. The Federalist Papers. What is he saying there? The founders believed that the people, all people, have different abilities and ambitions, and there's no guarantee of equality of outcome. It means...
Quite right.
It means that things are going to look different for each of us. It doesn't mean that everybody's checkbook looks the same in the end.
Well, of course not. We didn't even have checkbooks in my day.
What did you have?
ATMs.
It means that your house may be bigger or smaller than mine, depending on how hard you work.
I'm guessing smaller.
Your education level and your ambition and your goals. We're going to have different houses. We're going to drive different cars. Your wife's ring is not going to be the same as the other guy's wife's ring. It also doesn't mean that you have a right to health care. or even higher education. This country was built on a foundation of treating everyone equally and giving everyone equal opportunities, not guaranteeing equal outcomes. It was, quite honestly, it was based on this.
Where's he going? I
Excuse
hate
me.
it when he gets up and starts prancing about like that.
Based on this. This is George Washington's original, this is the original Purple Heart. The merit badge. It was based on merit. You have to be a person of merit. You have to do something. You have to earn it. But you also have to have an opportunity to be a person of merit. Today, with our various programs, our regulations, our tax policies, the government is trying to redistribute the wealth and keep people from failing. They're going to fail. I have a right to fail. Quite honestly, it is in my failing that I found my salvation. It is an effort to make everyone equal in their possessions, and it is wrong. We see it with Obamacare. We see it, watch this, from the president in higher taxes for the wealthy.
As a country that values fairness, wealthier individuals have traditionally borne a greater share of this burden than the middle class or those less fortunate.
Okay. As usual, the president sets out a false premise and expects you to buy in. He says traditionally. When did that start? It started under Woodrow Wilson. It's a progressive income tax. There's nothing in the Constitution that sets a standard for the rich to bear a greater burden. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Equal protection, equal justice, not social justice. Now, the reason why this system gets cold-hearted is because we have strayed away from the path of being people of decency and merit. We have strayed so far from the original intent and what kind of people that we were supposed to be. We are so far away from the original intent and the original argument that last week, J.P. Morgan Chase, the head, Jamie Dimon, asked Fed Chair Ben Bernanke whether we're preventing our economy from even growing at this point. Watch.
Now we're told there are going to be even higher capital requirements, so-called SIFI charges and G-SIFI charges, et cetera, and we know there are 300 rules coming. Has anyone bothered to study the cumulative effect of all these things? And do you have a fear like I do that when we look back and look at them all, that they will be a reason that it took so long that our banks, our credit, our businesses, and most importantly, job creation start going again? Is this holding us back at this point?
I don't think Ben Bernanke understood it. Let me show you one more example from Federalist Paper number 10. Madison wrote this.
Complaints are everywhere heard from our most considerate and virtuous citizens, equally the friends of public and private faith, and of public and personal liberty, that our governments are too unstable, that the public good is disregarded in the conflicts of rival parties, and that measures are too often decided not according to the rules of justice and the rights of the minor party, but the superior force of an interested and overbearing majority.
I didn't get a word of that, did you? Or I didn't. Let me translate. While the American Constitution makes many valuable and admirable improvements on both the ancient and modern models of popular government, a republic, a democracy, it would be untrue and unfair to claim that under the Constitution that it would prevent these dangers as well as might be hoped or expected. An even greater danger for us today than an overbearing majority is the superior force of an interested and overbearing minority. Do you think we have one? Did you see how many people agree with the policies of our country? What's happening? So what's the remedy? Well, Washington talked, and all of them talked about a moral and virtuous people who are wide awake enough to realize that we have gone wrong in our own life and our country, and we have strayed from the Constitution. As great as it is, the Constitution cannot run on autopilot. We must be involved. Get all of the details of the original argument for the Constitution at glennbeck.com. Thank you, Jay.
Here's a thought. Why not take all the mailmen and give them more power? Yeah, give them more responsibility, like thwarting biological terror. Sure, what could go wrong? Next.
America, we have a deadline hanging over our head, and it's August 2nd. That is the day that the country hits the debt limit, the debt ceiling of $14 trillion. So, how do we solve our spending problem? As if we had one. There's a new idea. The U.S. Postal Service could be the answer. It's a union leader that has this idea to alleviate the post office $8.5 billion deficit. He says, let's not cut Saturday delivery, because that would impact 80,000 jobs and save $3 billion. That's not enough. He says, the president of the National Association of Letter Carriers, that we should consider a new idea, like conducting the census 10 years down the road, or national polling, or delivering medications, or helping law enforcement in a number of ways. Ooh, if we could give them a badge and a gun, wouldn't that be great? Specifically, he suggested adding sensors to the postal trucks to detect biological terror threats. That sounds cheap. He says, quote, they can work with Homeland Security to detect things that are in the air. Wow, that is awesome. If we could just give our postal workers AK-47, wouldn't that be great? Give them handguns, a badge, some metal detector thing, and they can sniff out the mail and everything. The mailmen can fight crime. They can stop terrorists. We could maybe get rid of our firefighters too, because they could fight fires. They're in the neighborhood. Why don't we have them pick up our garbage too? We wouldn't need garbage men, firemen, police, nothing. We'll just make them members of Homeland Security, because after all, they're already out on the streets. They see everything. All these people are losing their jobs. The mail carriers would be a force of 200,000. Think about it. 100 cities cutting cops because they can't afford it. But now we make the letter carriers, Department of Homeland Security officials, 200,000 sets of eyes. It'd be like having a civilian force that would be just as powerful, just as strong, and just as well funded as the military.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded.
We should think about that. Yeah, we should think about that. Tomorrow, all the history you asked for, answering your history questions, because there's only now 11 episodes left, and we wanted to check back in with David Barton and some of your favorites back here live. You'll walk away knowing more than 88% of all the 12th graders that can't pass history in America. We'll see you then from New York. Good night, America.